right, boys and girls, when we left off, Kenny was in the car talking to his dad. They were having this serious conversation about how scary it is to be an adult and, how they don't know what to do with Byron, and so they're trying this out, sending him to Grandma Sam's. After the third time I asked, Dad, why did you buy this record player? Don't they have radio stations in Alabama? Sure they do. Lots of them. But you see, once you get south of Cincinnati, the only kind of radio station you get is hillbilly music. And you won't believe this, but if you listen to any kind of music long enough, first you get accustomed to it, and then you learn to like it. Now, your mother and I made a deal when we first got married that if either one of us ever watched the wonderful, wonderful Lawrence Welk show or listened to country music, the other one got to get a free divorce. And I'm kind of used to your mother, and I don't want to have her dump me. So instead of taking the chance I would get hooked on hillbilly music, I thought it would be wise to bring our own sounds along with us. Even though this made sense to me, Mama didn't buy it. And for the next week, while we were getting everything set for going to Alabama, she kept reminding Dad how much the Ultra Glide cost and how it messed up all the plans she had written in her notebook. Me and Joey were in the living room playing when Mama and our neighbor, Mrs. Davidson, came in. Hello, Joetta. Hello, Kenneth. Hi, Mrs. Davidson. I noticed right away that she had something behind her back. She said, since I won't be seeing you for a while, I thought I'd give you something so you wouldn't forget about me, sweetheart. She stuck a box out towards Joey. I could kill Joey the way she opened presents. Instead of ripping the wrapping paper off, she hunted around to find each piece of tape, then peeled it off real careful. It took her about 2 days to get all of the paper off and open the box. Joey finally held up her present. I didn't think Mrs. Davidson noticed, but I could tell there was something that Joey wasn't too happy about. She looked at Mama real quick, and Mama looked at her. Then Joey said, "Thank you very much, Mrs. Davidson." Mama smiled. Mrs. Davidson took the present from Joey and handed it to Mama. See, Willona, it's just like I told you. Look at that smile. The minute I saw it, it reminded me of Joetta. Is that her smile or what? In fact, do you know what I named this angel? Joey pretended she was stupid and said, "No, Mrs. Davidson. I've named her after my favorite little girl. This angel's name is Joetta." I went over for a closer look. Mrs. Davidson had bought Joey a little angel that was kind of chubby and had big wings and a halo made out of straw. The only thing about its smile that looked like Joey to me was that the angel had a great big dimple too. It was made out of white clay, and it looked like someone had forgotten to paint it. The only thing that had any color on it were its cheeks and its eyes. The cheeks were red and the eyes were blue. Mrs. Davidson said, "Ooh, child, give me one more big hug before I go." Joey got up and hugged Mrs. Davidson, then took her angel and said, "I'm going to put her in my room. Thank you, Mrs. Davidson." "You're welcome, precious." Mrs. Davidson looked like she was going to cry. We all knew she'd kidnap Joey if she had the chance. She liked her that much. When Mrs. Davidson left, Mama went upstairs into Joey's room. I eavesdropped. They were both sitting on Joey's bed. "I was very proud of the way you behaved, Joetta. What's wrong?" "That angel, Mommy." "Oh?" "Mrs. Davidson said it reminded her of me, but it didn't look like me at all." Mama looked around the room. "Where'd you put it?" "It's in my socks drawer." Joey was so neat, she had a separate drawer for socks. Mama went and got the angel and sat next to Joey. "Sweetheart, I can see how it reminds her of you. Look at that dimple." "But Mommy, it's white." Mama laughed. "Well, honey, I can't say it isn't, but an angel's an angel. What do you think?" "Maybe, but I know that angel's name isn't Joetta Watson." "Well, I'm glad you didn't hurt Mrs. Davidson's feelings. Keep the angel around. You might get to like it. Where do you want me to put it? Back under the socks. Mama laughed. The only one who didn't do anything to get ready to go to Alabama was Byron. He acted like nothing was going to happen, even though Mama got a bunch of our clothes together and put them in suitcases. The smelly green pine tree was hung from the rearview mirror, and all the lists and figuring were done. But Byron acting like he didn't even notice. Even after a few more yelling phone calls were made to Alabama, Daddy Cool just kept being cool. Byron didn't even get nervous when Mama packed a whole bunch of food in the giant green cooler we borrowed from the Johnsons. After all this stuff it was finally the night before we were supposed to leave. We just got in bed. Byron was up in his bunk and I was down in mine. I was so excited that I was talking a mile a minute, but I was talking to myself. Byron wouldn't answer or anything. There was a knock at our bedroom door. Come in. It was Mama and Dad. Mama said, lights out, Kenneth. Byron, you come with us. What for? We thought since this was the last night you were going to be spending in Flint for a while that you might like to sleep in our room tonight. You thought what? Byron had a way of saying stuff in a few words that made it seem like he was saying a whole bunch more. Come on by, you're bunking with us tonight. Dad said, "Aw, man." Byron jumped out of the top bunk and gave me his death stare. I just shrugged. I guess the grapevine had gotten back to Mama and Dad that Bob was going to make a prison break tonight before he got transferred to Alabama. He thought I was the snitch, but it was Joey. She knew if Mama and Dad got up in the morning and Byron had flown the coop that he'd really be a dead man when they finally recaptured him. So I guess she saved his life by snitching. But Bi sure didn't appreciate it. I sneaked out of bed after Mom and Dad arrested Byron. I was too excited to sleep and too excited to read. I looked out the window at the brown bomber and couldn't believe it was going to take us all the way to Alabama. The trip didn't become real to us until 9 in the morning when we were in the car waving goodbye to Rufus and heading toward I-75, a road that runs all the way from Flint to Florida. One road! We weren't even on the expressway before Mama started reading out of her notebook, telling us everything that was planned for the next 3 days. Day 1 today. We leave Flint and drive for 300 miles in about 4 or 5.5 hours. That will take us to Cincinnati. 300 miles in one day? It just didn't seem like that could be done. Me and Joey shook our heads. Byron looked out the window. In Cincinnati, we'll get a room in a motel. We brought plenty of blankets so you kids will be able to sleep on the floor. Me and Joey cheered. We'd never been in a motel before. Byron just kept looking out of the window. Day 2, tomorrow. Now, your daddy and this car both aren't as young as they used to be, so we don't want to push either one of them too hard. Dad looked shocked. So, we'll rise and shine real early in the morning and drive for 250 miles in about 5 or 6 hours. That should put us right outside Knoxville, Tennessee. Mr. Johnson says that there are some clean, safe rest stops there so we can spend the night in the car. If that's true, we'll stay there. If not, we'll have to see if we can find a motel room in Knoxville. So boys and girls, remember, as they travel from the north or the Midwest where they are in Flint and down south, this is 1963. They can't just pull up to any hotel or motel and think that they can stay there. They have to find a place that would allow blacks to sleep there. And if not, Mama's saying they'll have to find a safe rest stop where blacks would be allowed and then just sleep in their cars. So it's very different from the way we travel today. Day 3, Monday. This is going to be a tough day for your daddy because he's going to have to drive for more than 6 hours. After we leave Knoxville, we've got about 300 miles to go. If we leave early enough, we'll be pulling into home about 3 in the afternoon. Mama turned the page in her notebook. We're going to be able to stop once a day on the way down for hamburgers and once a day on the way back. Me and Joey cheered again at this news. Byron acted like he didn't hear. Now, If we sleep in a car outside Knoxville, we can stop one more bonus time coming and going. Otherwise, the cooler in the trunk is full of chicken, soda, potato salad, sandwiches, and fruit for the whole trip down. And I'm sure Grandma Sands will have everything set for us on the way back. I thought about it for a minute, then asked, Mama, how come we don't just drive until Dad gets tired, then stop? Dad did an imitation of a hillbilly accent. 'Cause, boy, this here the deep south y'all gonna be driving through. Y'all colored folks can't just be pulling up to any old way expecting to get no room and no food. You hear, boy? I said, you hear what I'm saying, boy? Me and Joey laughed again. And even Byron kind of smiled. This only encouraged Dad to say some more Southern style stuff. Y'all didn't know that, boy? What's the matter with you? You think this here America? Mama had everything planned about the trip. Everything. Where we eat, when we'd eat, who got bologna sandwiches on day 1, who got tuna fish on day 2, who got peanut butter and jelly on day 3. She had figured out how long we could hold ourselves between going to the bathroom, how much money we would spend on hamburgers, how much was for any emergencies, everything. She'd figured out who'd get the windows on each day and who was responsible for keeping paper and junk from piling up in the car. When she finished reading all that stuff to us, I asked her if I could look at the notebook. She handed it to me and I saw written on the cover in big black letters, "The Watsons Go to Birmingham, 1963. She had even drawn a picture of a flower with a big, fat, stupid bird trying to land on it. Man, Mama was a bad artist. Why is this bird trying to land on a flower, Mama? Dad cracked up. Ooh, Kenneth, I asked her the same thing and she was highly offended. Mama said, that's a bee, not a bird. I guess if you squinted your eyes up, it might look like a bee, but not too much. Mama had also gone to the library to look up stuff about every state we traveled through. We heard a bunch of boring junk about the expressway, how many years it took to finish it, how many miles long it was, how much it cost to build it, how it ran all the way from the Upper Peninsula in Michigan to Florida. All kinds of thrilling news. The only thing that was a little bit interesting was how many people got killed and hurt making the road. You never would think putting an expressway down was so dangerous. She had bought books and puzzles and games too. She really did try to make the trip interesting. The most interesting part for me, though, was going to be Byron. 2 days before we left, Bubhead came by to visit Byron. The three of us were in my and By's bedroom. They tried to bully me out of the room, but I stayed. They were sitting in the upper bunk, and I was in the lower room. Man, Bubhead complained, I couldn't live with your old man. We'd be coming to blows daily, Jack. What can I say? Byron answered. Not much. I can't believe they're gonna make you spend the whole blank summer in hot old Alabama. Shoot, I found somewhere else to stay. When you gonna be black as the ace of spades when you get back. They sure enough got some sun down there. Yeah, but dig, I got a way to pay them jive old squares back. Yeah, what you gonna do? I ain't even sure I'm gonna go, but if I do go, I know how they is. They gonna try some of that old Ozzie and Harriet TV show mess on the way down. You know, playing games and counting cows and guessing how many red cars we gonna see in the next 2 miles and all that kind of 369. But I'm ready for them. Yeah? Yeah. I got something that'll mess that junk up for all of them. What's that, Daddy-O? Byron remembered that I was still in the lower bunk and stuck his head over the edge, then pointed at me. You say one word about this to anyone, and I'm going to jack your little lightweight behind up. You hear? I said, oh, man. Byron disappeared back up into the top bunk. Yeah, Bubhead. If I do go, I'm going to go that whole blame trip. And no matter what they do to me, I ain't going to say one single word. Whoa. How long that trip going to take? 3 days. Cool, that'll show them. They slapped palms and Bai said, "Yeah, you know it will." But as soon as we got to Detroit, Byron said, "How we gonna work this record player?" Dad looked in the rearview mirror and said to Byron, "What do you mean? We gonna take turns?" "Well, Byron, I don't think we'll be playing it for quite a bit yet. We can carry CKLW all the way down into Ohio, and they play some pretty good music." "Yeah, but when we do play it, we gonna take turns?" "Sure." "Cool. Am I first?" "Sure. We'll go by seniority." Dad was in the United Auto Workers at work, so seniority was real important in our house. "Cool." I couldn't help myself. I leaned over Joey and said, kind of quiet, to Byron, "I guess you really showed them, didn't you? Boy, they were really begging you to talk, weren't they, Daddy-O?" Byron made sure Joey wasn't watching. Then he flipped me the dirty finger sign and made his eyes go crossed. "On the left, kids, is Tiger Stadium." Mama was pointing out all the important things we passed on the way down. As the payback for giving me the dirty finger, I said out loud to Byron, "How many cows you counted, Byron? How many red cars so far?" He gave me his famous death stare, then leaned over Joey and whispered, "No cars, no cows, but I counted your mama 6 times already." I couldn't believe it. What kind of person would talk about their own mama? I said, "That's your mother too, stupid." I knew he didn't care though, but I had to get him back. So I called him the only thing that bothered him. I said, "You might have counted my mama 6 times, but have you counted your mouth lately, lipless wonder?" I got him. He showed his teeth and said, "You little," and tried to grab me. Dad's eye was in the rearview mirror. "All right, you two. I said no nonsense, and I don't mean maybe." Byron used silent mouth language to say, "I'm gonna jack you up in Alabama, you punk." So, as we drove down I-75, headed for Birmingham, I felt pretty good. Even though every time I looked at Byron, his eyes were crossed, I didn't care, because this one time, I bugged him more than he bugged me. And we'll stop there.